Good morning. On behalf of Usability Sciences, we'd like to welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar, Best Practices for the Online Checkout Process. My name is Ruth Boyd, and I am one of the Senior User Experience Specialists here at Usability Sciences. I've been fortunate enough to have been with the company for about 11 years. So I also have my co-worker here, as well as co-presenter, Tony Marino. Tony is one of our senior usability analysts, and he's been with the company for about 8 years. And we welcome you. We're glad to be with you today, and we hope you enjoy our time together. So just a few quick things before we get started, just logistical things. Of course, we're going to keep this webinar to under an hour, so we know your time is valuable. Tony and I will go over some of these best practices, but we'll also leave some time at the end for some questions. So if you want to, you can use your WebEx Q&A feature for those questions. That seems to work the best. If you have questions during the session at all, feel free to just submit those. If we can get to them during the session, we will. If we need to wait, we can gather those at the end and answer them at the end. But the best way to get your questions is just to use that WebEx Q&A feature. And also to let you know, you will get a copy, or there will be a copy available of this presentation on our website at a later date. So if you miss anything or have to step out, this presentation will be available at some point, and you'll get notification of that. So before we dive into the best practices, just a little bit about our company. For those of you who don't know much about Usability Sciences, just quick background. We've been in existence for about 20 years. And we work with a number of Fortune 500 companies across many, many different industries. We have our office here in Dallas where we conduct a lot of our testing, but we do test across the globe. We can take our portable labs anywhere and test anywhere in the U.S. and also test internationally. So we enjoy doing that. We also have an online component to our company, but Tony and I are both from the lab side. So what we're going to be talking to you about basically is what we've heard from the labs. We do have a number of methodologies that we use when we work with clients. Some of our standard ones, just our basic usability testing methodology. We also have mobile testing, other methodologies like design walkthroughs or rapid iterative testing, as well as competitive, comparative, or best of breed. We do some eye tracking as well, and we have other methodologies such as focus groups or express testing, but those are our most standard ones that we do use. Now, as I said, Tony and I are from the lab side, so what you'll be hearing today, what we'll be communicating to you, basically are the results and findings from what we've heard users communicate, either verbally or through their user behavior in regards to when they're going through an online checkout process. So what you're hearing basically is what we've heard from users. And what we've tried to do is just gather these findings and these results and put them in some sort of package, what we're calling best practices. So we know that this list will not be all inclusive. There are some best practices out there that you're probably utilizing that you may not hear today. But we hope this will serve as a guide for you. We also know that some may not apply to you, just depending on what your business model is or the limitations of your website. But again, we hope that it will serve as a guide as you do build your checkout process or improve your checkout process for your users. Just quickly, a little quick disclaimer, we're going to be showing a lot of screenshots through this presentation. So we know that websites change daily, so some of these screenshots may not reflect what's out there currently on a site, but really that's not what's important. We really want to just give you a visual of what we're trying to communicate, so that's the purpose of those screenshots. Also for today, as far as the best practices, they really follow the model of if you are on a shopping cart page and moving forward, that's pretty much the material that we're going to cover. We will not cover anything in regards to a product detail page or browsing or shopping. Really, we're focusing on if a user has added an item or product to their cart and they're starting the checkout process, that's really what we're talking about. So from the shopping cart page onward. And also, we're not talking about mobile at all today. That's another webinar in itself. We really are going to just focus on if a user was sitting at their computer at home or work and they needed to check out we're taking it from that point, not any mobile best practices for today. Again, that would be another webinar. All right, so we're going to dive into these best practices, and what we've done, we've categorized them in this list here. So within these categories, we have some best practices listed, and we're going to go through each one of these and explain what we're trying to talk about. I'll take some of the categories, and Tony will take some of them, and we'll go from there. Again, if you have questions, feel free to submit those through the Q&A feature on your WebEx. All right, so with the first one, we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of having a clickable product image. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in regards to on the shopping cart page. We think that having a product image on your shopping cart page is very important, of course, and we think it also needs to be clickable. It just gives some comfort to the user to allow them to view that product and make sure that what they've added is the right one. What they've added is what they've been researching all along. This also is important for, if a user was to add multiple items to their cart, they just like the ability to scan over their shopping cart page and visually see those products on that shopping cart page. So it also allows them to correct mistakes if the image doesn't quite match to what they were thinking. If they, really wanted a t-shirt and for some reason there's a dress that they see there in their product on the shopping cart page, they can quickly click there and make that adjustment if they need to. And also just including a product image on your shopping cart page we think enhances just the visual presentation and the overall design of the page. So if we were to take a look here, here's an example of a shopping cart page. I'm on my shopping bag, and here I have my product. I've been shopping for a tennis shoe. I've added it to my cart, and I have a good visual image here of that product image. Gives me some comfort to know that that's the right product and I can move forward. Here's an example here where I don't have an image of my product that I've been shopping for and researching. I'm on my shopping cart page and I don't see it anywhere, but I do have my description, which is okay. But I think I'd have a little more comfort if I had that product image that I could visually see on this page. So we think doing it in this manner, adding that clickable product image, is definitely a best practice that you can employ. Now we're going to talk about the category of costs and savings. There are a lot of best practices that kind of fall within this category. So we kind of bucketed all of these together into a category called cost and savings. So let's talk a little bit about that. So one thing you don't want to do is leave your customers guessing, meaning you don't want them to estimate what the price is or wonder what the price is as they're going through the checkout process. When I mean price, I'm talking about really being all-inclusive of tax and shipping and everything. So making sure you display your costs throughout the entire checkout process. That's very important. And never ever require a credit card until the final costs are known. Surprisingly, we do some testing and we have some sites where users are utilizing and going through the checkout process and they're asked to submit their credit card information and they go, oh, wait a minute, what is my total cost? I can't remember. So it's important to, of course, never require a credit card until the final costs are known and make sure that final cost is somewhere that they can visually see prior to them putting in that credit card number or whatever payment method they may be using. Also, flaunt it if you've got it. And what we mean by this is if you have any savings or deals or specials, make sure you flaunt those. And here's a couple of examples. Within this screenshot here, the original cost of this product was $40. But as a user, I'm pretty excited. I've got it here. It's on sale. I see that sale price. I see how much I'm saving here, and I see how much I'm saving here. So this website does a good job of really flaunting all their savings, and users love this. If you have that ability, if you do have any type of coupons or deals or those kinds of things, make sure you flaunt all that. A couple of other things with costs and savings. Let's talk a little bit about promotional codes. Promotional codes are very important to users. We're hearing, more and more users like them. They want to know where they can get them, and they want to put that promotional code in as early as they can in the process so they know how it impacts their cost. So displaying that promotional code field or any other applicable coupon or code field early in the process we think is important. And if possible, if you could allow any customer to obtain that promotional code or coupon code while they're checking out, that's always a bonus. We know that's not always possible, but if you have a way to do that and provide coupon codes or promotional codes, at least the ability to learn more about it and maybe how they could get one next time, that's always comforting to users. They do appreciate that. So some examples here. We're on a shopping cart page here, and we have the ability to put in a promotional code even before, as I'm starting the checkout process. So I put in my promotional code, I will have the ability to apply it and see the results of that and how that impacts my price. Another example here, I don't have a promo code, but whenever we see in the lab, whenever there's a promotional code field there, users always ask, well, how can I get one? I want one. You know, maybe I can get one for next time, or maybe I can get one for now. So at a minimum, it's good to explain perhaps how they could get one, and this website here does a good job of, they have the ability to perhaps allow the users to find a promotional code through this Find One Now link. Sometimes there's a help link, or sometimes there's a Learn More link, but this website has a Find One Now. Then we have one that's taken a step further. We have this website who actually has a promotional code available, and so they offer that right there on their shopping cart page, and so users can take note of that and add that to their order as they're going through checkout. Another best practice within the category of cost and savings is, let's talk a little bit about shipping costs. It's very important to display shipping costs up front. Users are expecting that more and more now. So that's something that they want to see up front. If they can't get an exact shipping cost, they at least want a minimum and an estimate of some sort. And if it's possible, with the shipping costs also include taxes. So some examples here. I'm on a shopping cart page. I haven't begun yet, but I'm about to begin my checkout, and I have an estimated shipping and handling charge here. So that brings me some comfort. At least I know that I'm under $10 for shipping, and I can choose to proceed. The sales tax, at least they tell me that it's going to be calculated at checkout. Another example here, taking it a step further, I have the ability to input a zip code, and after inputting that zip code, it spits out what my shipping and handling charges are going to be. So that's another good way of doing that if you have that ability. And then once I, of course, put in my zip code with this website, tax is known at that point, so I also have information on my tax. Even a step further, there are some websites or some companies, of course, who sell bigger items. And so shipping really comes into play when users are considering whether they're going to purchase this product online or not. So we have a couple of examples to give you as far as if you do have bigger products, it's a good idea to offer some shipping information before they've even added that item to their cart. So with this example, I'm on a product description page for both of these examples. There's two separate websites. But this, of course, is a bigger item. So for me to even consider putting it in my cart, luckily I have the ability to click on this link and get an estimate after putting in my zip code of how much it might cost to ship that item to me. So this is all on the product description page. This is another product description page. Of course, we have a washing machine here, which is a bigger item, but luckily I have a link here that I can click and it gives me an estimated delivery cost for that. So I have all of this even prior to me putting it, adding it to my cart, which gives me some comfort knowing that the website has taken it a step further to share that information with me. So those are some best practices within the cost and savings category. Now Tony's going to talk a little bit about security.
Thanks, Ruth. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. So one of the things that we found is most important to customers when going through an online checkout process is how secure their information is, especially when they're entering credit card information, because they have fears about fraud or perhaps their information being shared with other companies where they might begin to receive additional emails or cluttering up their inbox. And so, one of the things you want to definitely do when going through the checkout process is you want to allay your customers' security fears. So one way that you can do this is to provide users with familiar logos or certificates such as VeriSign to show them that you are taking their security and their privacy seriously, and that you want them to continue through and feel comfortable with going through your checkout process. So if we take a look at these examples here, you'll see that the first two examples have incorporated the VeriSign secured logo, which everyone is familiar with. You can also use a variation by using the Verified by Visa or MasterCard secure logos, which users are also familiar with, to help them feel more comfortable with providing you with that sensitive information. Some other ways that you can show users that you're taking their privacy seriously is by incorporating some lock icons or perhaps some security verbiage within the buttons throughout the checkout process. So if we take a look at these examples here, you'll see the top three examples incorporate a lock icon to show you that this checkout process is secure. And then these bottom three examples actually say proceed to secure checkout. So these different sites here are doing what they can to really communicate to their users that we are taking your privacy into account, and we want to make sure that you get through this confidently and that you feel safe and comfortable with providing us with your personal information. You also want to make sure that you don't force users to register, at least at first. When you force a registration on a user, it doesn't win you any brownie points. What we've seen several times in many of our usability studies where we're testing checkout processes is when users are forced to actually check out, a lot of them have stated that they will actually leave the website as they don't want to have to worry about providing you with any personal information, or perhaps having their information shared with third-party affiliates. And then next thing you know, their inbox is receiving a lot of different emails from other retail sites or other partner companies that they simply don't care to see. So in this first example here, you'll see where the company has actually forced the registration. So this customer has gone from their shopping cart, and the next thing they see is this registration page. So it's asking if they're a new customer, and if they are, it's showing them that they have to add their email address and they have to create and confirm a password, or they have to sign in, but there's no opportunity for them to simply continue on as a guest. So what we would recommend is that you allow your customers the ability to register another time, or better still, simply check out as a guest. So an example of being able to register another time is this next example we have here of an unforced registration, in which the new customers are asked if they'd like to register now, or if they'd like to register next time to check out. A lot of users really appreciate this because, especially if it's their first time using your site, as they're unclear if they're going to go back and shop again, or they want to perhaps try your website out to see what the experience is like initially. And if they like that experience, they'll come back. And perhaps later on, when they come back to your site, if you've really taken care of them and showed them that your number one priority isn't to send them emails or save their information, then that's going to build some trust with your customers. And if you can provide some benefits of why they should register later, then perhaps they might do so just because of the fact that you didn't force them to do it in the first place. Another better example here is this example of checking out as a guest. In this example, the website has actually called out very well here that the user can check out as a guest and that they don't have to register. And so we've seen a lot of users state that, well, if this is my first time using the site, I would definitely check out as a guest because I want to see how this first order goes. I want to find out if I'll use them again. If I really like it, if I felt that they took care of me and I like the checkout process, then I might come back and register later, especially if there are some additional benefits associated with that registration, but I wouldn't want to do it at the first time. So, in summary, if a user is going through your website, always provide them with some opportunity to continue with their purchase without providing any registration information, and make it optional. Of course, we understand that you do want users to register with your site, and they will, as long as you don't force them to do it first time around. Another important piece about the checkout process is the organization of your forms and fields when they're entering in their personal information. For instance, vertical format typically always wins when it comes to providing their personal information, such as shipping and billing address, phone numbers, email, all of that fun stuff. The reason being is that users are typically used to looking at pages from top to bottom and scanning from left to right, and it also helps decrease site errors because it's easier for them to scan and it's easier for them to tab through the various fields. So some good examples of what a vertical form could look like would be these two examples here, in which we see a vertical format on both of these examples, and users are asked, and it's easily intuitive. It's very intuitive for users to enter in their first name, then their last name, country, etc. in this form. Same with this next form here. Everything's in a vertical format, so when I hit my tab key, I know that I'm going to the next subsequent field here. Horizontal or vertical combined forms are sometimes difficult to scan or tab through, and they actually create more of an opportunity for user error. So in this example here, you'll see that we've got the first name, middle initial, last name, but then at the user tabs, it's unclear if they'll actually go to the daytime phone number or if they're going to go down to the address field here. And because there are no barriers or there's no direction as to what they're going to see first, a user may start entering their address information into the area code for the phone number here because they didn't realize that the next tab over went to the phone number and not the address. And so this causes more confusion and this causes more room for error. So we would recommend to stay away from this type of format and simply use a vertical format when entering that personal information. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Ruth, and she's going to talk to you about reassurance.
All right. So with the category of reassurance, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can bring comfort to your users during this checkout process. One of the things that more and more sites are doing are kind of streamlining this checkout process by showing users and providing users a summary that they can visually see throughout the entire checkout process. And this is a good model, we think, to use, having this summary that users can just confirm that as they're going through, everything I'm entering is correct, and if they need to go back, they can go back easily. So users are pleasantly surprised, and they appreciate those sites that do provide sort of a snapshot of their order as they go along. And some sites also display this previously entered information as they're going through and the quick ability to edit that. So let's give you some visuals here so you can kind of get a picture of what we're talking about. So with this screenshot, if you would imagine, this is not the full page obviously, but I'm on the payment step. There is some more text over here to the left, but for the purposes of this point we're trying to make, you have your order summary over here on the right. So I have my order details, and I've had this from the get-go as far as what my subtotal and shipping and my sales tax and my total cost is as I'm going through this whole ordering process. So this has been at my fingertips the whole time. So this snapshot here is just a good reassurance to me that everything's going okay. As I've gone through a couple of steps, again, I'm on my payment steps, I've already added my billing. I have that information here as well, and I have a quick ability to edit that information if I see perhaps if I'm one digit off on my phone number or whatnot. So I have a quick ability to edit. So this is one example of how you can try to provide your users that snapshot and that visual as they're going through that checkout process. Here's another example done just a little differently, but works well. So with this, I started the checkout process. Immediately I had my shopping basket over to the right, so I have that visual all the way through, and I'm able to confirm the products. If I need to make a quick update or add one or two to my cart, I can do so, and then I have my charges over here. But as I've gone through the process, I've already signed in as a guest. I've already put in my billing, and again I have the quick ability to edit if I need to, but without leaving the page. So instead of clicking back and try to fix something and not being able to get back to the step I was on, because we see that quite a bit, This streamlines it a bit and provides users the ability to quickly fix anything if they need to, and then just reassures them as they're going through the checkout process. So that order summary we think is really helpful. Another important way to reassure your customers as you're going through is to provide them a visual of what steps they have to go and what steps are incorporated into this ordering process. So, you know, what steps have I done, how many more do I have to go, and whatnot. So some examples here of some progress or step indicators. They're always at the top of the page. That works well. We'd recommend that. They, most of the time, are not too overbearing in visual presentation. So you'll see these three examples. They're pretty simple designs. They don't take the page in any way. And with each one, I'm able to tell easily where I am currently through some visual distinction. I can tell where I am currently. I can tell where I've been. And then I can determine easily how many steps I have to go and how many steps will it take to complete this entire process. So progress indicators we think are important. They're not always used. Users only typically use them when they need them. When they either want to figure out, oh, did I do that step yet, or how many more steps do I have to go? Then they start looking for it, and they typically look for it at the top of the page. So having those we think are important and helping reassure your customers. Also, another way to reassure your customers is making sure that you have contact information or the ability to get in touch with someone if the customers need to during the ordering process. That's very important. So you don't want to keep your company contact information hidden. Just be sure you include it somewhere throughout the checkout process, and make sure, if you have a toll-free number, try to provide that. Here are a couple of ways that these websites have done this. This website here actually has a call me feature, and we know that not every company has the ability to do that, but they also have a chat online. So I have the ability, if I need to, at my fingertips, if I have some questions, I can get those questions answered, hopefully by using one of these two features. With this website here, I have two toll-free numbers given to me. The same number, but given to me at different areas of the page, which is great. And I also have just a nice, comforting, smiling face here if I need to get in touch with someone. So, this gives me a visual cue that this might be an area of the site where I could possibly get some help and find some information on who I could call. So reassuring them in that way as well. A couple of other examples. It's important to display this information not only at the beginning of your checkout process, but make sure you do include that throughout the entire checkout process. So with these two websites, this website here, basically they have provided this need help module here throughout their whole entire process. So this, I believe, is on every page. So they have phone numbers, they have hours, when you can call, so that's pretty helpful. And with this website here, which you've seen on the previous slide, there's a toll-free number on every step of the way during the ordering process here. So that's another way to reassure your customers. We're going to talk a little bit about site errors. I'm going to turn it back over to Tony.
So, one of the things that users really have pointed out to us in our labs is the ability to point out where they've made a mistake. When they're going through a checkout process, for them, they just want to get through the process so they can get that product shipped to them as soon as possible. And so you want to provide an easy way for them to identify any areas where they're missing information or where they've perhaps entered in incorrect information so they can correct it and get through your checkout process. So you want to do what you can to help users through it. One of the ways you can do this is you can ensure that your error messaging is direct and it's easy for your visitors to understand. Use simple language, don't use company or internal jargon. Use words that are simple and easy for them to understand. Also, along with standard error messaging, which is typically towards the top of the page, you also want to incorporate some contextual error messages and highlight the area of the field or the area of the form where the actual information needs to be updated. So in this first example we have here, you'll see that at the very top, they're showing here in the important message of what the issue was, and it's highlighted with red, and it's got Yellow background, red is typically used to identify where errors have occurred. And then if you look down here, it's showing me, well, I've forgotten my phone number information. It's got it again highlighted in red, and it makes it very clear as to what the issue is and what I need to do to correct it. If we move forward, it's also possible to point out where errors have occurred through visual cues such as arrows or borders, highlighting or call out graphics, something that really catches the user's eye to show them this is the area that I need to update. So if we look at these examples here, you'll see that in this first example here at the top, you'll see that they've highlighted a little word bubble here that says to please complete the mandatory field, and it's pointing directly to that field. And then in this other example here, we actually have it in red, which again is a good signifier of an error or a warning, showing me that I need to actually re-enter my email address if that was a step that I skipped. And so by using identifiers such as these throughout your forms and with proper placement, you really help your users figure out what they need to do to get through your process to make sure that they can successfully complete the checkout and move on with their day. So along with everything else that we've talked about, we felt that there were some additional considerations that needed to be covered here briefly, just to kind of give you some additional insights and things that users typically have appreciated as we've gone through several usability studies and reviewed several checkout processes. So the first one is you want to retain previously entered information. Where applicable, a lot of times if users continuously come to your website or use your checkout process, but perhaps they haven't registered, if you somehow cookied their information or provided some way for them to easily re-enter information without having to enter it entirely, they really appreciate this type of functionality. Of course, you don't want to retain their credit card information. Someone else may be using their computer to go through your checkout process, but in terms of just some simple information such as a name or an email address, something of that nature, users typically appreciate when they don't have to re-enter that info. Additionally, you want to provide users with the same as shipping option. Several times we've seen where users going through a checkout process and they initially enter in their shipping information, and then when it gets to the payment and billing, they're asked again to present that same address information. And if the billing address is the same as the shipping, this becomes a little bit irritating as they've already entered in that address once. So above the billing information, allow users to use a checkbox labeled same as shipping so that it'll automatically autofill all of the same fields, and it's just one less step that they have to go through. Also, you want to make sure that you provide users with a gift option. While this seems pretty obvious for sites that sell flowers perhaps, or balloons, or gift stores, a lot of times users are providing all sorts of gifts for folks, and a gift option is just one less thing that they have to worry about if they want to send it to that person directly. So if you do provide a gift option, consider some other options with that gifting, such as a card or perhaps a wrapping option if it's applicable. But we found that users who are able to take advantage of this option will typically use it if they are purchasing an item for another individual. Also, if you have physical locations, make sure that you provide users with a site to store option. A lot of times I know that when I'm going through a checkout process and I'm buying something online, I'm typically shopping online because I'm perhaps getting a better deal or there's an online special, but it doesn't mean that I don't want that gift right away. And so a lot of times when I'm online, I like to go through and find out if there's a store that's near where I'm located that I can easily go through the checkout process and then go to that store and pick it up. We've heard the same feedback from other users in our usability studies that they do like a site to store option. So if you do have physical locations, ensure that you provide that option for your users. Also, once the checkout process has been completed, you want to make sure that you let users know what they need to do next or what they can expect next. Time and time again, we have seen where once a user completes a checkout process, they just receive a thank you screen, but it doesn't really have any other information such as the order was successfully completed, how long is it going to take for it to be shipped, am I going to receive an email, did they get all my information correct? And so there are a lot of questions, and there's a lot of uncertainty about, what is going to happen now that I've completed this order, and did it actually go through. So on that confirmation page, after a user has gone through the checkout process, provide them with a summary of their order, give them some information letting them know that they'll receive a confirmation email. In that confirmation email, provide them again with a summary of their information as well as what they ordered. Also, this is a great opportunity for those who want users to register, to provide them with some additional benefits of registering with the website, and perhaps having a link for them to register with the site from that email. But make sure you give users some direction, and don't leave them kind of in the dark, as it were, if once they get through that checkout process. So in summary, you want to make sure that your checkout process is swift, safe, and really communicate savings, because these are the things that are important for users when they're trying to go through this checkout process. So with these bullets we're showing you here, these are just summary bullets of the different things that we covered in our presentation today. And with that, we're going to go ahead and just open it up to questions from the audience.